if you go and ask someone for advice or insight, if you go to them and say, I'm trying to do this, what do you think? 90% of people won't mind telling you what they think, right? And sharing their wisdom or experience with you. But if you go to them and say, put money in my business, they'll say, oh, हो कौन तुम? मतलब कहाँ से क्या मांगने आ गए हो? It's like walking down the road and somebody suddenly says, give me your car keys. You'll be like, कौन हो? कहाँ से आए हो? भाग जाओ यहाँ से. But on the other hand, if every day you go for a walk and you see that same person and the person smiles at you and it says hi to you after 3-4 days, and then after 4-5 days says, hi, how's your day going? And then after a few days says, so what do? That's how you make friends, right? In the real world. The problem is online may people feel entitled that they'll just walk in and say, give me your car keys.
Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Fashion Days. I am Paras Chavda, the host for the show. In this podcast, I interview some of the most successful people in diverse fields who can share their story and help you to discover and pursue your passion and purpose. If you are looking for the answers to the questions like how to find my passion, how to have a fulfilling career, or how do I follow the path of my passion, then this is definitely going to help you. In this episode, I am interviewing Ritu Srivastav. She's an angel investor and the founder of Obino, India's top-rated health coaching app. She's an amazing person with a very interesting journey. She started her journey in corporate and then went on to become an RJ and then a product person and then a tech entrepreneur as well. She shares some amazing insights and lessons from her journey that can help a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. Let's get started with the conversation. Hello Ritu, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for inviting me, Paras.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure for me as well. So I'm going to start right with the questions. So Ritu, first of all, how was your childhood and what were your childhood influences like?
So actually, I was born and brought up in Kerala. I'm actually from Uttar Pradesh. My dad is from Uttar Pradesh. My mom's from Delhi. But my dad's an IPS officer. So he was posted in Kerala cadre. And so my childhood and my teenage years, everything was in Kerala. I'm like a pseudo Malayali. I'm born and brought up there. And it was a very sheltered childhood in the sense that since dad was a cop, we always had the right facilities and we were always very well taken care of. We had access to good schooling. And Kerala is anyway a highly literate, very clean, I would say sophisticated, but very civilized kind of place. वहाँ कोई बदतमीजी नहीं होती. People are tremendously courteous and well educated. So it was a great childhood in that sense. I had access to everything that a child could possibly want. But on the converse side, because my dad was a cop, I was really protected and cosseted, never really allowed to take chances. Because, it's as a cop's child, you always have so many layers of protection between you and the real world. So to this day, if you ask me to travel by local transport, na meri phatti hai. Like I'm really old, but if you tell me take a bus, I will be like, oh shit, ye kaise? So in that sense, it was a very, very protected, sheltered childhood. Very good in one respect, but also a little scary because I wasn't really exposed to a lot of the realities that young girls have to face. And honestly, given that we live in India, I think that was a wonderful thing. I missed out on a lot of the shitty parts that a lot of young girls have to go through. So, acha.
So and you were a studious kid as well.
No, I actually wasn't. I was always decent in class. Like I was always in the top 5, top 7, but never due to any amount of effort because I'm instinctively by nature, I'm a little lazy. I'm not the type who can sit and study. वो एक होता है ना जिसको बैठ के पढ़ने की आदत होती है. I'm not that type of person. I used to listen very carefully in class and I would try and understand the concepts. And my father's very intelligent. My mom is too. So I think thoda sa wahan se I had a little bit of help from genetics. But that disciplined, consistent, स्कूल से आओ, बैठ के होमवर्क करो, एग्जाम से पहले अपना प्रिपरेशंस रिविजन. I always used to study last minute. I would be up till 5 in the morning trying to cram as much as I could before the exam. Yeah, I was not very good academically. मतलब ठीक थे, चल गए, निकल गया.
So you sound like a classic engineering student.
मतलब हो गए पास, अच्छे मार्क्स से हो गए, चलो लाइफ में आगे बढ़ो.
So like, what were your plans back then? Like when you were in school, what were your aspirations? And
I think it was always understood, being a bureaucrat's daughter, that we would try for the bureaucracy. It was like a given thing. Hamari puri family is into the bureaucracy. Everybody is an IPS, IAS. मतलब, right down from my dada par dada, they've all been bureaucrats. And on my mom's side, they've all been doctors. So in our case, it was like a given कि तुम लोग पढ़ोगे और civil services के exams लिखोगे. And my brother also went the same way. So I have an elder brother. He did economics honors from Delhi University, and he did his MBA. Then he sat for his civil services, and now he's an IAS officer. So it was always expected that, she's going to do the exact same thing. So there was nothing to think about. It was, yahi karna hai. But the whole thing came to a very strange twist when in the first year of graduation, I also was sent to Delhi University to do my economics honors, same tradition. I wasn't asked whether I wanted to do it or not. It was like given, karna hai. So matlab ho gaya admission, jao, padho. And मैं ना अपने first year economics honors में fail हो गई. तो मेरी पूरी family shock में चली गई, me included, because I had always done well at school. So fail hona is a very big thing, And like in the whole batch, some 3 people must have failed out of some 150. So they were like, how did you manage to fail? Baki sab pass ho gaye. So I think it was, वो होता है ना किस्मत की वो एक घड़ी आती है where fate decides to switch your track. I shouldn't have failed. I actually failed in all my exams by 1 mark. I need 1 mark. If I had gotten 1 mark more, I would have passed. Mera sum total mein. So it was like, this is very bizarre. And I think it was a turning point in my life, because suddenly what was expected of me just broke down. The whole system just like fell apart. Because if you failed in economics honors, what happens next? Ab to tum civils likh nahi sakti. The whole future we've planned for you has fallen apart. So then in that one failure, it was like, okay, so now you do what you want to do. And वो जो पटरी बदली है, आज तक I'm doing what I want to do.
So like it was kind of a blessing in disguise, like which helped you actually in the long run, yeah.
It really was, because I came back and I said, I don't want to do economics. I hate economics. I don't even understand economics. I like English. So I did English honors. After that, I did an MBA, and then I got a sales job, and then I became a radio jockey, and then I became a product person, and then I became, like an entrepreneur. And from after that day, nobody ever said, "Tumhe ye karna hai." They're like, "Tumko jo karna hai, tum karo ab."
Okay. I think that's amazing. Like, and given I saw your career path as well on LinkedIn, like you have tried actually a lot of things.
Right. Because jo karna karta tha, main karti.
Yeah, like even I couldn't make sense. Like, okay, how here from there? Like, you were earlier into corporate and you were handling, I think, accounts, right? Yeah. Customer accounts and all, and yeah, and after that you went into being an RJ. Like, so I want to know the whole story. Like, how did this trajectory took place? Like, how was your career path shaped?
So it was really bizarre. I got a pre-placement. So MBA jao na, so they have something called a pre-placement offer. Basically, after your first year, you get internships, right? In your first year. You go and do an internship at some company. So in our campus, Wipro ki internships were very prized, because Wipro ki internship always used to come with a pre-placement offer. मतलब आपको प्लेसमेंट्स में बैठना ही नहीं पड़ता था, आपकी पहले से ही जॉब अश्योर्ड होती थी. तो people used to really fight for those विप्रो के इंटर्नशिप्स, एंड आई गॉट रियली लकी. आई गॉट दैट. 2 इंटर्नशिप्स मिलती थी पूरे बैच में, एंड आई गॉट वन ऑफ देम. जैसे वो इंटर्नशिप मिली, यू नो कि यार अब तो जॉब अश्योर्ड है और अच्छी कंपनी के साथ अश्योर्ड है, तो मैंने अपनी सेकेंड ईयर में खूब मस्ती की. मैं कहा नौकरी तो पक्की है, अब क्या करना. So I got placed with Wipro right after that. मतलब कॉलेज खत्म हुआ, नौकरी अश्योर्ड थी, विप्रो ज्वाइन कर लिया, बॉम्बे आ गई. फिर समझ में आया कि विप्रो की नौकरी सेल्स की नौकरी है, और जिसने कभी सेल्स किया नहीं हो, आईटी सेल्स, ओ भाई साहब, तो बहुत बुरी हालत थी. So for at Wipro, I was stationed in Bombay. And I used to do 7 customer calls a day. आपका minimum quota होता था, you have to do 7 customer calls a day. तो बलाड एस्टेट से विरार 4-4 घंटा लोकल ट्रेन में लटक के जाना, फिर आईटी मैनेजर, परचेज मैनेजर. मुझे सारे गवर्नमेंट अकाउंट्स मिलते थे, जो सारे स्ट्रेटेजिक बड़े अकाउंट्स होते हैं बॉम्बे, एचपीसीएल, आईओसीएल, बीपीसीएल, सारे ऑयल अकाउंट्स, लार्सन एंड ट्यूब्रो, सारे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग अकाउंट्स. पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ पे उनके मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट होते थे, लैपटॉप लेके चले जा रहे हैं पता नहीं कहाँ. और उन दोनों में नहीं, आई हैड नेवर बीन टू बॉम्बे, आई हैड नेवर ट्रैवल्ड इन अ लोकल ट्रेन, सो द होल थिंग वाज वेरी पागल हो गई थी, क्या है मैं क्यों कर रही हूँ. सो इस सब में वन ऑफ माय अकाउंट्स बीपीसीएल वाज इन बलाड एस्टेट, नारिमन पॉइंट, जो साउथ बॉम्बे है.
ओके.
और वहां पे रेड एफएम का ऑफिस है. रेड एफएम इज अ वेरी बिग रेडियो स्टेशन. So उन दिनों में phase 2 licensing का चल रहा था, and there was lot of emphasis on radio, and radio had become really big, like RJs had become like celebrities. उन दिनों की बात है, this is like 2002-2003. There's nothing cooler than being an RJ in Bombay. And one day I had gone for my sales call, और मैं निकल के office, when I was walking out, I saw Red FM का office, and I don't know why, I just walked into their office. To this day, I don't know why I did that. I had a sales. I remember I was wearing a formal shirt, formal pants, laptop टांगे हुए थी. उन दिनों मेरे बाल बहुत लंबे होते थे, तो एक चोटी बांधी हुई थी मैंने. And I walked into the Red FM office looking like a salesperson. जैसे वो होते नहीं, वो medical rep बेचने के लिए आ गए.
Yeah.
And receptionist मुझे ऐसे करके देखा, and I said, I want to be a radio jockey. But to her credit, she could have laughed in my face, right? She could have said, "क्या पागलपन कहाँ से?" But I think वही किस्मत की बात होती है. She said, "Okay, आप please sit. I'll call someone." और फिर she said something on the phone, and 5 minutes later, this really cool-looking guy with dreadlocks and one tattoo here and all, he came out. He was an executive producer. Us time, and I didn't know at that point of time they were actually auditioning for a new RJ. I had no idea because I just like walked in, and he said, "Okay, come on in. I'll take you through." We went to the studio. He said, "We'll do a walk-in audition." He said, "Do you need a pen and paper?" I said, "No." He said, "You have 5 minutes to prepare. Then I'll click this particular button to switch on the mic, and then talk. Just whatever you feel you should say. And when you're done, just click this button again. Okay? If you need anything, I'm on the other side." I was like, I was perplexed कि मतलब अब तो थोड़ी देर तो 1 सेकंड, 1 minute I was thrown off. Then I was like, channel your inner RJ, अब आ ही गई हो तो कर लो कुछ. तो मैंने बटन दबाया, और जैसे हर RJ को सुना, "Hi, this is Ritu, you're on Red FM 93.5." I spoke for 2 minutes. I pressed the button. फिर he looked at me. He said, "Do you want to try that again?" मैं कहा, "No." हो गया एक बार, ना हो पाएगा फिर से. So he said, "Okay, great. Leave your name and number. We'll call you back." और 15 मिनट में I'm standing on the road outside. मैंने कहा, ये क्या हुआ? ऑड एक्सपीरियंस था. मैं कहा, चल छोड़ दे, कोई बात नहीं, किसी को नहीं देखा, किसी को नहीं पता. लाइफ में आगे सेल्स कॉल पे चलते हैं. तो मैं बैक टू वर्क. फिर मेरे को कॉल आया 2 दिन में कि we have a head of production. He wants to meet you. Can you come? ठीक है. I went. I had a 1-hour long chat, and I'm still in touch with that guy, Aditya Patwar. He's an amazing person, and he really liked me. And he says, "Come back day after. Our national programming head is coming. I want to speak with you." 2 days later, I came back, met the national programming head. They offered me a job, and I became an RJ. It was very bizarre.
This sounds very unreal to me.
It was very bizarre. It was very so many things came together at the same time.
And it's not even internship. Like you directly got the RJ job.
I just got, and it all happened because at that point of time, Red FM used to be an international station. So they used to play
Okay.
only English music. And un dino, when the radio licenses were like really exploding, they were in the process of transitioning from becoming a international station to a mass Hindi station. But the problem was
Okay.
all their RJs were like Angrezi type ke log. So there's this guy, I don't know whether you follow him on Instagram or on TV and all. एक channel V का VJ है, Jose Covaco.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Jose
I follow him.
yeah, he's amazing. So Jose used to be the drive time host on Red FM, जो 5 to 9 का drive slot होता है. And he was
Okay.
famous. He was 21 at that time. I was like 25. And they said the reason we are bringing you on is we want a female Hindi influence opposite Jose because he can't speak Hindi. उसको हिंदी नहीं आती, वो गोवा से है और आधा पोर्चुगीज
Okay.
है, उसको हिंदी नहीं बोली जाती. So if we have to become a Hindi station and retain him, we have to have a balancing influence. So all this was happening in the background, and I just walked in at that point of time. I knew Hindi. I was female, and I was just in the right place at the right time. It just happened, and I went straight onto the prime time show. Like people work their way up through, छोटा show किया, फिर weekend show किया, फिर afternoon, फिर drive time पे पहुंचे. Drive is prime time. I just landed directly in prime time. Yeah, but
This is very bizarre.
very bizarre, but good fun.
And yeah, and after RJ, I think you became a content head there, right?
हाँ. So वहाँ पे होता क्या था that you could do as little or as much as you wanted. And
Okay.
look, RJ की नौकरी ना, honestly speaking, ऐसी chill नौकरी दुनिया में नहीं है. Because I would wake up at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, मुंह धो के, brush करके, कपड़े बदल के, I used to live in Andheri, and I would catch a local train और 12 बजे local train खाली होती थी. तो मैं पैर वैर ऊपर करके किताब पढ़ते हुए Nariman Point जाती थी. वहाँ the office was walking distance. Office जाती थी, वहां से मस्त कुछ नीचे से ऑर्डर करती थी, बन मस्का या सूप या कुछ मस्त लंच करती थी. और यू हैंग अराउंड इन द प्रोडक्शन स्टूडियो, तो वहां पे कुछ वॉइस ओवर्स हो रहे हैं या दूसरे शोज चल रहे हैं या म्यूजिक चल रहा है. आप कंप्यूटर पे बैठे हो, खेल रहे हो, खा रहे हो, बात कर रहे हो. 4 बजे हमारा प्रोड्यूसर आता था और एक पेपर पकड़ाता था, कहता ये आज का तुम्हारा कंटेंट, इसको एक बार देख लो, कुछ सवाल है तो पूछ लो. पेपर देखते थे, बोलता हाँ ठीक है. 5 बजे शो स्टार्ट होता था. हर 1 घंटे में आपको 4 बार बोलना था 1 मिनट के लिए, और आपका कंटेंट ऑलरेडी पेपर पे होता था. मतलब पॉइंट्स होते थे कि ये वाला जोक मारना है, ये वाली लाइन बोलनी है, ये ट्रिविया देना है. ऐसे 4 लाइन लिखी होती थी और बाकी तो आपको बोलना है. तो 4 घंटे में 16 बार बोलो, 9 बजे शो खत्म और फिर घर जाओ. ऐसी ऐश की नौकरी, बाय गॉड. आफ्टर 6 months you get bored. You're like, यार ये कितनी बार वही गाने, वही जोक, वही सड़ी हुई न्यूज़, मतलब कितनी देर करोगे ये सब. और when you come from sales, you're used to working 16 घंटे, heavy काम की आदत होती है, right? And MBA prepares you for that.
And you felt complacent.
Yeah. So after a while, I said, I need more work. So I actually went to Aditya and I was like, यार मुझे कोई काम दे दो, मतलब मैं ऐसे ऐश तो बोर हो रही हूँ. तो उसने मुझे एड प्रोडक्शन का काम दे दिया. फिर मैं क्लाइंट से लियाजन करने लगी. Then I started getting into client servicing. Then I started getting into producing shows. थोड़ा थोड़ा करके ना मेरा फ्रंट से हमेशा, this always happens to me. I start facing audience facing role में, and I slowly drift to the production role क्योंकि I like organizing things. I'm the kind of person, अगर कुछ टेबल पे कचड़ा पड़ा होगा ना, मेरा ऑटोमेटिकली मैं जाके ऑर्गेनाइज करने लगूंगी. That's the way my mind works. So after a while he came and said, Ritu, and I remember my national programming at Vernon. I spoke to him just a couple of days ago. He said one thing to me. He said, Ritu, you're a good RJ, but you're a great producer. You will always be a good RJ, but you can be a phenomenal producer. because unlike an
Okay.
RJ, you have the ability to organize. तो तुम सोच लो तुमको किस साइड पे रहना है. तो that I always find this. I always drift to the back of an organization. You know, like पैसे प्रोड्यूस करना है, पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, बिजनेस कहाँ से आएगा, धंधा कहाँ से आएगा. मेरा माइंड उधर ही चलता है. मेरा माइंड फ्रंट एंड में वो
Okay.
ग्लैमर है. You know, everybody knows you. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's not. It doesn't hold my attention. मुझे लगता है वहां पे
Okay.
यार धंधा नहीं हो रहा, ये बिक नहीं रहा, इसको ऐसे करेंगे तो ऐसे स्पॉन्सर खरीदेगा, ऐसे क्लाइंट सर्विसिंग कर सकते हैं, इस क्लाइंट को ऐसे ला सकते हैं. मेरा दिमाग उधर ज्यादा चलता है.
Okay. So, and after that, you explored more in, like, I think in another radio also, in Radio 1 also, you kind of did a similar role, right?
Yeah, so what happened after Red FM is that Red FM में I became head of content and all of that. पर एक बार you hit a, क्योंकि बहुत flat hierarchy होती है वहाँ पे, ज्यादा grow करने की opportunity नहीं है, तो पहुंच गए. अब क्या करूं? 3 साल में you're heading the station. Now what do you do after that? So I then got hired by, उन दिनों में एक Go 92.5 होता था, midday group का radio station.
Okay. Okay.
So they wanted to launch a brand new station in Delhi. So they hired me for that. And that was a completely new experience. Setting up a station, hiring the team, deciding the formats from get-go. It was a full startup.
Yeah,
So
scratch.
बहुत ही exciting था. And I went like 400% in terms of salary. So it was
Okay.
like a crazy jump. Like all this while tukur chal raha, and then you can just like shoot forward into the next level. So I
Yeah.
set up the station, ran it. We did really well. It was an amazing experience. Then I met someone who said, "ये सब तो अच्छा है, but like you've run a radio station, can you create a product that people will pay for?" So I said, "मतलब?" He said, "Radio तो free है, right? Free चीज तो सब सुनते हैं. The truth is, can you create a product like this, but which is so good that people are willing to pay for it?" मैं कहा यार ये तो
Okay.
इंटरेस्टिंग मॉडल है. एंड दिस वाज माय अपॉर्चुनिटी इन टेलीकॉम. उन दिनों में मोबाइल वैस स्टार्ट हो रहा था, where you could listen to songs on your mobile. So then
Okay.
I switched to Airtel and part of the new product development team and created a product which went on to win several awards. We did like almost 300 I think, yeah, we did about 11 million customers in under 9 months. Airtel का
Okay.
scale भी बहुत बड़ा था, but it was
Okay.
a runaway success. So we did a mobile radio kind of model. We launched that. And then on the back of that, I joined the brand team. I became the brand head for Airtel. फिर वहां से
And like you went into, okay, so that was the role for which you went into product development.
yeah,
Right.
that's how I entered
Okay.
product, and then I did brand, and then I
Okay.
got into my own startup. So
Yeah,
basically,
like
all the
and
business.
so, and I think what about the start? I already know your story, like when you were married and you wanted to lose weight and you were struggling to do that. That's when you had this idea. So before going into that, like I want to understand, like when you start into the entrepreneurship, I am sure there must be a glamour side to it as well. Like you told me, like there was to being an RJ, right? So how did that fade away, and what do you think are the right reasons to actually go for the entrepreneurship?
So I think what was happening personally with me was that I had spent like 5-6 years with Airtel at that point of time, and like I do, I get bored. So I was already thinking ki ab kya karenge? What am I going to do next? And there was this startup weekend that there's this guy called Ankur Agarwal, who's now the founder of Price Baba. He
Okay.
had organized a startup weekend at Airtel. And it was my first exposure at literally 2012, 8 years ago, at the age of 34. That was the first time I saw the startup world. उससे पहले मुझे कुछ नहीं पता था startups क्या होते हैं, क्यों होते हैं. It was just something I would read about in the papers and not really even think about much. But when that startup weekend happened and I got exposed to a startup, I think a lot of things come together for you to take that entrepreneurial leap. One was I was really bored of my work, and You know,
Okay.
I was doing very well in my corporate career. I had a great job, a great package. बट 6 साल हो गए थे और वहां पे जो मैं सीख सकती थी वो सब खत्म हो गया था. नाउ आई वाज इन मेंटेनेंस मोड.
Hmm.
सेकंड, आई हैड अ 2.5 year old बेबी एट होम एंड मैं सुबह की 8 बजे निकलती थी और रात के 8 बजे पहुंचती थी. When I left, my baby would be sleeping. When I came home, my baby was about to go to sleep. So it was
Hmm.
just, it was a life कि बच्चा पैदा किया है, मतलब उसको कोई और ही देख रहा है. मतलब ये point क्या हुआ?
Hmm.
What is the point of all this? So I was at that stage, bored, disillusioned, wanting something different. Then this was
Hmm.
something new and exciting. And then there was also the personal experience which I had gone through of losing weight and the whole passion behind that idea. And then I think at the heart of my life, has always been, and it's going to sound very silly, I don't like people imposing restrictions or schedules on my life. I can
Okay.
work very hard for something that I want to work for. But if you tell me work hard on this, I don't like it. मतलब मुझे करना
Yeah.
होगा, मैं बहुत ईमानदारी से ना efficiently दिल लगा के काम करूंगी. And I'm very honest with my work. But I
Hmm.
don't like being told कि 7 बजे उठो, 8 बजे पहुंचो, 9 बजे से पहले अपनी डेस्क पे होना. That whole arbitrary schedule never made sense to me. And I'm somebody who
Okay.
can't wake up early in the morning. मेरे से ना रात, I cannot wake up early. I always used to miss my school bus. I always used to miss the first session in my MBA. मेरे को तुम रात में 5 बजे तक जगा लो, लेकिन सुबह उठने मत बोलो. तो मेरी हमेशा ही ख्वाहिश थी ना कि ऐसी जिंदगी हो कि जब उठना चाहो उठो. काम करने से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन जल्दी उठने मत दो. At the heart of all of this coming together, I said, यार, entrepreneurship ठीक है. Let's be our own boss. So I think it all just came together at a time when I was ready for it to happen.
But I would say like that was the initial, like when you were just going to start out. But I'm sure that you learned a lot after. It would have grown into much more than just having a flexible lifestyle in the later journey. Like how did that shape later? Yeah.
I think what's so phenomenal about entrepreneurship na, is that you are the business. In early stages na, there is nobody, there is no money, there is no support, there is no team, there is no business, kuch bhi nahi hai. It is
Hmm.
literally like a child sitting on the beach creating a sandcastle. जो बना, जैसा बना, वो तुम्हारी वजह से बनता है. So there is
Hmm.
this amazing sense of satisfaction and achievement that comes with entrepreneurship that doesn't come with anything else. Because when you build a team, when you launch a product, you just stop sometimes and you look around and you're like, ये सब मेरे दिमाग से निकल के आया है. This is everything around me is something I have created. I have thought of it. I have
Yeah.
brought it to life. So that feeling of power and achievement and capability, nothing else will give you. And when you look at the height of Obino, we were about 70, 75 people. We had a really sweet office and, very cheerful and lots of vibrancy. And I would just walk into office and sometimes I would just look around and say, wow, so cool. I used to be just me sitting at my dining table with a laptop and an idea. And now look, like 70 people working towards a common goal, that I dreamed of. It's so cool. There's just nothing to beat it.
Okay, and that's amazing. Like, and also like coming back to talking about that desire to be your own boss. I think that's there in every young person. Like I tried to think very hard of what are the reasons. I think some of them that came to my mind is exactly like you told, is that resistance to authority and you want freedom. But realistically speaking, what do you think is are the don't you think that one should develop some right reasons to go for entrepreneurship before going into it?
What is the right reason? There's no
Like,
right.
I'm asking you.
So that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. There's nothing that's right or wrong. As long as you don't hurt anybody, right? Like you don't maliciously, intentionally hurt anybody, there is nothing wrong and there's nothing right. There's only what you can create. So my reason could be as silly as not wanting to wake up early and have a lifestyle that allows me that. My reason could be as simple as not having a structured work schedule and be available for my family and be available for my daughter when she grows up. It could be as commercial as wanting to create wealth, because in a corporate job, let's be really honest, right? In a corporate job, you cannot create wealth. You can save money, right? And if you earn really well, you can save a lot of money. But truly changing your income category is not possible. You will be affluent, you will get a little more affluent. आपकी फैमिली, आपके पेरेंट्स की 1 करोड़ की सेविंग है, आपकी 5 करोड़ की सेविंग हो जाएगी आफ्टर वर्किंग योर एंटायर लाइफ, एंड बोथ ऑफ यू वर्किंग, इफ यू गेट लाइक अ फिनोमिनल जॉब, राइट, इफ एवरीथिंग गोज राइट. But a young startup entrepreneur, it's a very high risk category. 1 in 1,000 succeeds, or like 1 in 20,000 succeeds. But the payoff is equally high. If you get it right, then the sky is the limit. कोई limit ही नहीं है इस profession. Risk बहुत high है, लेकिन rewards भी बहुत बड़े. Corporate career में सीधा पाथ है. आप बहुत काम करोगे तो आपको डिसेंट पैसे मिलेंगे. आप जिंदगी भर काम करोगे तो आपकी अच्छी सेविंग्स होंगी. बट आपको कभी वो लाइफ नहीं मिलेगी जो आप चाहते हो. आप हमेशा 12 घंटे, 14 घंटे, 16 घंटे ही काम करोगे. वीकेंड्स भी आपके गए, हॉलीडेज भी नहीं लेते. I've seen so many people in my career at my life stage who put in an average of 10 hours a day and commute 4 hours a day. That is their reality. They live one day on the weekend. एक दिन मिलता है वीकेंड में जब वो घर का काम करते हैं. On the other side, I work an average of 3 to 4 hours a day because I work from home, right? I have no commute. And I have and I've been a fast worker. So I don't work a lot, but whatever I do with focus and I do it very fast. In my peak startup days, I never used to work more than 6 hours a day. मेरे से 6 घंटे के बाद दिमाग बंद हो जाता है. My brain doesn't work. So I had so much opportunity to sleep and watch TV, read books, spend time with my child, travel, hang out with friends, just like do whatever I wanted. So my quality of life was so much better. And all of these things, they really start making a difference. When up to the age of 26, 27, 28, you're in that work hard mode. Pata nahi chalta. You work hard, you party hard. After 30, especially once you have a family and you have a child, you realize the value of being able to have time and flexibility. And like my daughter would have a terrible night, right? Like when she was teething, she'd stay awake till like 4 a.m. But regardless of whether she was well, not well, I would have to get up and go to work at 8 o'clock. There was no option. There was no scope कि आज उसकी तबीयत ठीक नहीं है, मैं घर रुक जाऊं. Scope ही नहीं था. जैसा है बच्चा रोता, दवाई पिला के मेड को हैंड ओवर करके जाना पड़ता है. ये कैसी जिंदगी है? So it sounds very simple to say, flexibility, but what comes with it is just like a completely different quality of life. And I'm very, very glad I took that decision.
And like, I'm sure you must be very aware of the fact that the high risk as well. Like there's a 1 in 1,000. So what was your perspective on failure back then?
I never thought about it. You
Okay.
always believe that you are going to be the exception. You can't think about the fact that you're going to fail, right? There's a very high chance you're going to fail. And rationally, at some level, you know that. But you can't think about it. Because if you think about it, it will paralyze you.
Okay.
You don't think about it. It's like when you're walking, you're climbing a wall, right? You don't look down. You know you can fall. And you know if you fall, you're going to break your head. You don't look down. You can look up and you keep climbing. नीचे नहीं देखना.
Yeah, I guess that's an amazing analogy. Yeah.
But if you look down, you'll freak out. You'll be like, oh shit! There, don't look down. You just keep climbing.
So like if we can dive deep into like some challenging times which you remember, some times when you were really crushed, and how did you develop emotional resilience in those times, if you can share that.
I think it always comes down to the people in your life, right? So I have a very, very supportive co-founder, and I have a very supportive spouse, and my parents. These four people have always been really supportive. So I remember this one particular occasion, we had run out of money before we'd raised around. जो सारी सेविंग्स थी, सब कुछ थी, सब खत्म हो गया था. वी हैड 3 टीम मेंबर्स, उनकी सैलरी करीब 1.25 लाख की होती थी, और मेरे पास अकाउंट में ना करीब 15,000 बचे थे बैंक अकाउंट में. सारी सेविंग्स एग्जॉस्ट हो गई थी. उनकी उस महीने की सैलरी देने का भी पैसा नहीं था मेरे पास. So I actually called up my co-founder. I said, मैंने बहुत हाथ पांव मार लिए. That was just before our funding round. Funding close नहीं हो रही थी. I was like, नहीं हो रहा है. I don't know what to do. अब तो पैसे भी नहीं है सैलरी देने के लिए, तो क्या करें? So I remember he told me, he says, तुम टेंशन मत लो, we'll go back to work and अपनी सैलरी से we'll keep the team running and we'll keep working on it. और जब थोड़ा स्टेबल हो जाएंगे, थोड़ा सा पैसा बच जाएगा, then we'll come back to it. But you don't worry, we will do it together and we won't give up on it. तो उसने वो बोला ना, तो मुझे काफी तसल्ली हुई. मैंने कहा ठीक है, ओके, यू नो, we'll keep going. And then a friend called me up. I still remember. He called me up. He said, अहमदाबाद में एक स्टार्टअप कंपटीशन हो रहा है फॉर वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, तो तू जा और प्रेजेंट कर. उसमें ना 1.25 लाख का प्राइज है, फर्स्ट प्राइज. तो तू, इट्स अ कैश प्राइज, तो तू जा. तो मैंने, आई रिमेम्बर, बैंक अकाउंट में कुछ 15-20 हजार से उसमें से 5,000 की टिकट लेके अहमदाबाद गई थी. एंड किस्मत अच्छी थी, जीत गए. उस सैलरी, उस प्राइज मनी से मैंने उस महीने की सैलरी दी थी. फिर उसके बाद 2 महीने सैलरी के पैसे नहीं थे, बट द टीम टुक अ हिट. सो while I was trying to close the fundraising for 3 months, we didn't pay them. We just didn't have any money. And I told them, I said, I'm trying desperately to close this round. जैसे close होता है, मैं आपको पे जरूर करूंगी, आप बस रुक जाओ. And 3 months, they went without a salary. जैसे funding का पैसा आया, the first thing I did was pay them with a bonus. So,
amazing.
ऐसे times में ना, you feel so terrible because, you know, my husband was still working. So, it wasn't कि my, you know, because we didn't have money, that it affected my family life so much because चल रहा था. But these are people who are their breadwinners. अगर आप उनकी सैलरी नहीं दोगे, तो उनके घर में खाना नहीं बनेगा. So that responsibility that you carry with you is so soul crushing कि मेरे failure की वजह से अगर किसी के घर के चलने में problem हो रही है. So that was a very, very bad patch. It was a horrible patch. But ठीक है, टल गया. टल गया, business बंद नहीं हुआ.
And you came out stronger, right?
Yeah, we came out big. Yeah, sometimes, but it could so easily have gone the other way. You know, that's what's very humbling about a startup, is that even when you win, you know, you sell your company, you make a lot of money, you get a good rep in the industry, only you know how easily it could have gone the other way. How easily you could have been a statistic that failed and shut down. So it keeps you very humble because at some level you know यार कि वो किस्मत थी, उस टाइम पे वो फंडिंग क्लोज हो गई और निकल गए, नहीं तो अपना भी भंटा धार हो जाना था.
and now you have empathy as well for other entrepreneurs, right? You get a lot of empathy.
बहुत खराब है. So recently somebody messaged me saying, I'm financially exhausted and I need money. So will you fund me? और मुझे इतना खराब लग रहा था ना, for a second I was like, hey, I've been here, I know how it feels. You're just so desperate कि somebody should believe in my vision and put money into my business. And I know how, with what hope that entrepreneur sends that message. But on the other hand, it's business. You can't get emotional about it.
You have to be rational there.
You have to be rational, because if I can see the fundamentals of the business are weak, I know that any money I put is just staunching a bleeding wound. मैं पैसा डालूंगी, वो पैसा 6 महीने में खत्म हो जाएगा. In 6 months he'll be at the same situation he was earlier. So it's just, it's very hard. It's very hard. You're like, oh, this is very hard.
Yeah. Okay, like you told about that, you have the right kind of people. You had an awesome co-founder with you, and you have a supportive spouse as well. So so what I call this is a tribe. You have a good tribe, right? So how did you go about finding the right tribe for yourself?
I honestly think you don't really find it. It just creates itself. So I was really lucky in the respect that I was a part of a no equity, no fee volunteer accelerator called the TIE Bootcamp. So it was held in Bombay in 2014. And it was run entirely by a volunteer team of entrepreneurs. हम लोग पेटीएम के ऑफिस में एक फ्लोर दिया था हमें, हम वहाँ बैठते थे.
Okay.
और जो सेकंड या थर्ड कोहॉर्ट था, which I was a part of, it had 7 startups. उस बात को अब क्या 7 साल होने आए हैं. We are still all on the same WhatsApp group and we chat like almost every second day. They are my first port of call for any help I need. कोई confusion, कोई stress, कोई सवाल, I go there. यार, do you know someone in this company? यार ये नहीं हो पा रहा है, यार ये इसका क्या होना है, ये इसको कैसे करते हैं, कोई resource बता दो. So it is my first point of contact for any inquiry which is startup based. उसी accelerator से I found my mentor, and that was the accelerator I met Kunal Shah at for the first time, who's a good friend now. But not a good friend. He's a senior person, in the startup space. So he's again like a mentor to me. I harass him and ask him questions. Just the other day, I said, "Sir, advice de do." I met Amit Tiwani, who is the Prime Venture Partners head, through my mentor. I met a lot of phenomenal entrepreneurs. TaskBob ka jo head tha, Asim Khare, he was part of that. InVideo, which has just raised 15 million from Sequoia. Sanket is part of the TIE Bootcamp. So all of these entrepreneurs, some have failed, some have shut down, some are on their second venture, some have sold, some are still on their first venture. So it just, they understand exactly what you're going through because each of them has gone through it. So it makes you feel कि यार कोई है जो समझता है कि मेरी लाइफ में कितनी स्ट्रेस है. So I think ऐसे लोग मिलते जाते हैं, and then your network, as you remain in this business longer, your network keeps growing of people like this that you can call for help and who can give you ideas and thoughts and help clarify.
And do you think it gives you similar mental space as well, like of like-minded people who are doing same kinds of things? And maybe like one day someone is posting their achievement, so it also pushes you as well, right?
So you compete with, so it's like a friend, right? You're so happy when they do well and you're like, fuck, now I need to get my act together.
I need to keep up.
I need to shape up. बहुत आलसीपना हो गया, जल्दी करो. So I think it's a good vibe in all senses because they genuinely mean well for you. You genuinely mean well for them, and they're a source of inspiration and competition. मजा आता है. Good people.
There's a healthy competition there, yeah.
Very good people, and all of them. I think the one thing I really like about entrepreneurs is 99% entrepreneurs. एक मिल जाता है बेवकूफ टाइप का. They are all very clean at heart. उनका ना दिल बहुत साफ होता है because what I really like about entrepreneurs now is they are so busy in trying to realize their dreams that they have no time to be malicious and mean towards other people. उनके पास ना बैंडविड्थ है गॉसिप की, ना बुरा सोचने का टाइम है. They are just so focused अपने बिजनेस पे कि उनका दिल बहुत साफ होता है. आप कोई एंटरप्रेन्योर से आप हेल्प मांग लो, अगर उसकी कैपेबिलिटी में तो जरूर हेल्प करेगा. एक दो होते हैं थोड़े वियर्ड टाइप के, वो हर बिजनेस में होते हैं, बट बाय एंड लार्ज they are very helpful.
I think it's because of the kind of the experiences as well, which you all go through together. Like the harsh times teach you to be humble and to be helpful, and you develop empathy for each other, right?
Yeah, because you know what it feels like to struggle, and you know how much you bless even one person who helps you this much. So when you know what that feels like when someone asks you for help, you're like, यार मेरे लिए किसी ने किया था, बनता है करना वापस. Yeah, so it's a good feeling.
Okay, that's amazing. So now coming on to mentorship. So like many people, I've heard this so many times, like you need to get a mentor in your life. Like, so one thought that I had, don't you think that mentorship kills the learner in you, that self-driven learner who wants to go explore things on their own, rather going to the mentorship path where it's kind of a shortcut maybe? So what are your thoughts on this?
So I think a mentor, so there's one thing that's very, very clear in my mind, right? And I often say this to people, especially when people charge for mentorship, right? So you have a lot of these companies that will say, give me 2% of your equity and I will mentor you. Or I will be your mentor, give me 1% equity, or give me money. You know, this kind of setup, it just burns my blood. मेरा ना खून खौलता है ये सब सुन के. Because companies have advisors, entrepreneurs have mentors. You can't be a mentor to a company. And there's a very big distinction in this that most people don't understand. See, business is about business success, right? And an advisor will, to your organization, his job is to advise the entrepreneur for the success of the business.
Okay.
But the success of the business and the success of the entrepreneur are sometimes not the same thing. Let me give you an example. Kal ko, let's say an investor comes in who's willing to put in X amount of money into your business, but the terms that he offers the entrepreneur are very unfair. Now it's good for the business, right? Because the business gets an influx of capital, it'll be able to scale, it'll do better. But the terms will strip the entrepreneur of his rights in the business. Now, an advisor's job will always be saying, this is good for the business, go for it. But a mentor is focused on the entrepreneur. He'll say, no boss, ये तेरे लिए डील अच्छी नहीं है. वो बिजनेस में तो पैसा डालेगा लेकिन इन्वेस्टर तेरा 50% खा जाएगा. Now, this difference 90% of the people don't grasp. A mentor should be focused on an entrepreneur's success, not the success of the business. And if it comes down to a choice between the two, he has always to pick the entrepreneur and not the business, right? So, if a mentor asks for 2% equity in a business, uska to equity and his success is linked to the fate of the business, not the fate of the entrepreneur. तो जैसे आपका इंसेंटिव बिजनेस की तरफ चला गया, आप एंटरप्रेन्योर से ज्यादा बिजनेस के बारे में सोचो. This is a clear problem in 90% of all mentorship programs. A mentor cannot be financially involved with your business. He cannot have an upside from your business doing well. Mentorship has to be because he genuinely wants the entrepreneur to succeed. And if that means the success of the business, that's awesome. But if it comes down to a choice between the entrepreneur and the business, the mentor has to pick the entrepreneur every time. And this is why mentorship cannot be a paid activity. Because जैसे आपने इसमें compensation का आपने झोल लाया ना, तो वो सारी compassion, feeling,
There will be a
everything.
bias.
You're biased. Then you're paying for it. Then it's a service. Then it's not mentorship.
Okay.
So that, in my
Then,
mind, is a
le-
very, very big difference.
then like, how do you think that then one should go about finding the right mentor for themselves,
I think,
and how do judge it basically?
see,
Find and judge.
find is not easy, right? When you just always have to be on the lookout. During your entrepreneurship journey, you will meet lots of people, right? You will meet investors, you will meet senior entrepreneurs, you will meet junior entrepreneurs, you will meet customers, senior customers in the decision making pyramid. You'll see people whose point of view you really respect, people whose thoughts really resonate with you. You'll come across them on social media, you'll come across them in conferences, at events, they'll be introduced to you. They may even live near you and you meet them on a walk or they may work out with you in the gym. You'll meet them wherever. The trick is to find somebody who you vibe with and from whom you are willing to take an alternate point of view. Because there are some people who know a lot and they're very knowledgeable, but when they give advice, you can't take it. There is a vibe. If one person says something to me, I will appreciate that person's perspective. When somebody else says something to me, I'll get pissed off. So there is a vibe that happens between two people where one is willing to listen. And honestly, mentors don't necessarily have to be senior to you. They could be your peers. They could actually be someone junior. All it matters is that they are able to give you a perspective on a problem that you're struggling with. So very often entrepreneurs, they're weighing options, right? मैं ये करूं कि ये करूं. Everything is always a choice. Do I put my money here? Do I put my money here? Do I do this? Do I do this? Do I pivot the product this way? Do I try it this way? When you're in your own head all the time, after a while, you get confused. You're like, yaar, samajh mein nahi aa raha, ye bhi sahi lag raha hai, wo bhi sahi lag raha hai. And then you get confused. A mentor's job is to help you get a stable, sensible perspective. And just help you find the answer, not give you the answer. So I have my mentor, Kanchan, he's the only person I call my mentor. Whenever I go to him with a problem कि मैं समझ में नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या करूं, he'll keep asking me questions. Okay, why do you want to do this? इससे क्या होगा? अगर ये ऐसे होगा तो उससे क्या होगा? ये हुआ तो ऐसे होगा, इसके बारे में सोचा है क्या? So his experience allows him to ask me questions that force me to think कि हाँ यार ये किया ना तो वो हो जाएगा, वो तो desirable outcome नहीं है. Okay, तो शायद ये थोड़ा और explore कर. Their job is not to give you the answers. Their job is to help you find the answers. And very often, their job is simply to have faith in you. So there was a point in this whole startup जब fundraise नहीं हो रहा था and I was tired mentally. बिल्कुल मैं थक गई थी और पैसे भी खत्म हो रहे थे. And I remember telling Kanchan कि मेरी योगेश से बात हुई. Yogesh is my co-founder. कि अब maybe we should just go back to jobs and we'll keep the company alive. He said, खबरदार जो तुमने ऐसा सोचा भी, तुम ऐसा सोचोगी तो तुम you'll give up. Just you stay focused. Stay completely focused on the metrics, on the business and on fundraising. सर नहीं उठाना है. Just keep your head down and keep working. Keep at it. I know you will succeed. Just have to hang in there. बस लगे रहो, दिमाग मत लगाना, बस लगे रहो. And sometimes it's their belief in you that carries you through the hard times. Because अपने पे ना belief हिल जाता है कि नहीं कर पाऊंगी या मेरे से नहीं होगा, अब नहीं हो रहा है मेरे से. And at that point of time when someone you respect says नहीं, you can do this. I know you can do this. It's like a coach, right? वो last वाला rep नहीं हो रहा होता है. Like हाथ हिल रहे नहीं हो रहा. It's like होगा, तू कर. होगा एक और rep. So you're like, you do it for them if not for yourself. So it's that faith keeps you alive. And he kept me alive at that point. Agar if Kanchan had not been there, मैंने छोड़ दिया होता. मैं would सचमुच I would have said कि fuck, अब नहीं हो रहा, अब ना हो पाएगा, अब घर चलते. And he was like, हिलना नहीं है, करके छोड़ना. God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And uh, I want to ask. I'm sorry, first of all, I'm little bit ahead of the time.
No problem. So much fun
Yeah.
talking to you.
So I want to ask I'm sure that this is not the right way to approach people, to just ask something and just make everything about ourselves. So how do you build that healthy relationships, where you can actually go people build actually go and ask for these kind of advices?
So I think,
How do you work upon these? Yeah.
I think what happens now is that all of us, if you go and ask someone for advice or insight, right?
Hmm.
If you go to them and say, I'm trying to do this, what do you think? 90% of people won't mind telling you what they think, right? And sharing their wisdom or experience with you. But if you go to them and say, put money in my business, they'll say, oh, हो कौन तुम? मतलब कहाँ से क्या मांगने आ गए हो? क्यों? So the trick in a relationship is always to first be visible and then ask for something that a person is willing to give. Now, for instance, on LinkedIn, right, I wrote a post also about this. If you just suddenly appear in someone's vision and say, it's like walking down the road and somebody suddenly says, give me your car keys. You'll be like, कौन हो? कहाँ से आए हो? भाग जाओ यहाँ से. But on the other hand, if every day you go for a walk and you see that same person and the person smiles at you and it says hi to you after 3-4 days, and then after 4-5 days says, hi, how's your day going? And then after a few days says, the weather's really hot now, it's pretty crazy. And then after a few days says, so what do you do? That's how you make friends, right? In the real world. The problem is online may people feel entitled that they'll just walk in and say, give me your car keys. I'm not giving you my car keys, go away. But in the offline world, that's not how you make friends, right? You see a person, you become familiar with that person, and the relationship grows slowly. And that's the same principle for relationships the world over. You have to make them slowly and you have to make them ahead of time. You can't suddenly wake up one day and say, मेरे को funding चाहिए, आज मैं ना 50 इन्वेस्टर की लिंक्डइन में अपना डीएम डाल दूंगी, मैं ये कर रही हूँ, मुझे पैसा दे दो. ना भाई, ऐसे नहीं होता. कोई नहीं देगा. Why would they give you, right? Who are you? What do they know about you? But if, for instance, you have been talking, building your profile, posting comments, showing thought leadership on an area, posting your business's successes, and then you've been writing to all these investors saying, hi, I've heard so much about your work. I would just like to remain connected. And then send this is this really great post on AI that's, starting up. I thought you might like to read it. I just wanted to share, we've hit this really great milestone in our business. So happy about it. I just wanted to share it with you. Over a period of time, they feel invested in your success. They're like, I know him. Oh, I've heard of him. Oh, that's nice. Congratulations. Then tomorrow you say, I'm doing this. I just like your inputs. What do you think? Is this a good space? There's this problem I'm struggling with. Should I do this? Then they'll offer some advice. Then they'll get a little more invested in your success. They'll be like, oh, dekho usne wo kiya. Then you write back to them, आपने उस दिन वो advice दी थी, मैंने ऐसे implement किया, ये हुआ, thank you so much. That's how you build relationships. You don't just suddenly go there and say, चाबी निकाल. Like, hey, चाबी निकाल, कोई चाबी नहीं मिलेगी. Yeah, so it takes time.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing example. It's kind of like dating, right?
Totally like dating, yeah. Totally like dating. Especially dating in India is like super scary. Long lead up to it.
So thank you, Ritu. This was an amazing conversation. Any final takeaway that you would like to give to young and aspiring entrepreneurs?
I think only one thing I'd like to say, that जिससे खुशी, जिस चीज से खुशी मिलती है वो करो. And for the other person, right? दूसरे को जिस चीज से खुशी मिलती है उसको करने दो. Because we all want happiness for ourselves, but we are so unwilling to let somebody else follow the path of their happiness. So I may want to be an entrepreneur. I may want to do this, and I may want to do that. Don't want people to stop me. I want all the freedom in the world for myself, but I am not willing to extend that same freedom to my spouse. As a woman, I should be able to tell my spouse, you want to take 5 years off and start your own business, you do it. I will support you. Once you've earned enough money, if my spouse doesn't want to work anymore and wants to sit at home, I should say, screw what society is saying. You do what you want. हम लोग अपने लिए एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं वो फ्रीडम, पर हम वापस किसी को देने के लिए तैयार नहीं हैं. To my own daughter, right? I should have the balls to say कि बेटा तेरे को जो करना है तू कर. Do what makes you happy. Not that ये मार्क्स लाओ, फिर ये पढ़ो, फिर 18 तक इंटर्नशिप और 22 तक नौकरी. तेरे को जो करना है तू कर. And कोई बच्चा घर पे रह के मतलब अंडे नहीं छीलता यार, सब अपने आप कुछ ना कुछ कर. बट हम लोग सब दबा के खुशी निचोड़ देते हैं सबकी. छोड़ो यार, तो जिस चीज से खुशी मिलती है करो.
Like we make pressure cooker out of every kid.
काय को मतलब उसको, he also wants to live his own life. Let him live his own life. You don't know better. As a parent, you honestly don't know. And so as long as your child is healthy, as long as your child is kind, as long as he treats other people well, that's what you should aspire to. Your job is to take care of his mental health and his physical health. उसके आगे तुम्हारी ना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है ना तुम्हारा काम है. छोड़ दो साले को, जो करना है करते, रास्ते में बताओ, अपना रास्ता ढूंढ लीजिए. तो बहुत स्मार्ट होते हैं, सब ढूंढ लेते हैं.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Ritu. Like, this was actually very amazing conversation. Nothing like I expected. I expected it to be very formal and everything.
Not formal. I can't be formal. I don't know how.
Yeah. So, like, my biggest takeaway from this is, like, first, that I don't think that there has to be some big or noble reason behind your desire to go into entrepreneurship. Like, it could be something personal to you, whatever just drives you. It could be very basic as well, to have a good lifestyle, right?
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. And the second is about the dating one. On finding the right mentor. Like,
No,
and you don't ask.
I still do it.
Okay.
Honestly, I will be so honest with you. I'm in the process of cultivating so many relationships. Even I struggle with it to this day, because it's so much easier to just ping someone and ask for what you want. You have to consciously plan, okay, I will do this, then I will reach out like this. Because it's not just easy to make conversation. You have to have content to write to them. बात करने के लिए भी कुछ होना चाहिए बोलने के लिए. इसमें बहुत प्लानिंग लगती है, बहुत दिमाग लगता है.
Yeah, and I can see that as well. Like, you were such a nice person to talk to, and like it was very easy having a conversation. It was just like I was talking to one of my school senior. Like, it was as easy for me.
I'm definitely way older than your school senior, but I'm very happy that you felt it was comfortable.
Okay, thank you. And anything like you want to talk about, if you want to talk about Obino, or if you want people to reach out to you, something that you would want to mention?
Ab Obino to big gaya, so nothing much there. But if anybody needs any help on anything startup that they feel I can help with, please find me on LinkedIn. I am very open to helping people that I feel will do something with that help. So just DM me. If I can help, I will definitely help.
Thank you, Ritu. Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was longer one as compared to my previous episodes, but there was very little parts that I could cut from it, because for me this episode was full of value bombs. If you want to reach out to Ritu Srivastav, you can follow her on her social media on LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. I'll add the links in the description as well. She's very active on her social media and keeps on sharing some good blogs, articles, posts and videos as well. Do follow her. Also, if you like this episode, do share this with your friends and family. I strongly believe that this can help any aspiring entrepreneur. Time to say goodbye. See you in the next episode.